If you're not doing supersets or doing circuits with pure calisthenics, you are missing out. A superset is simply doing 2 exercises in a row without rest in between. In the case of calisthenics, this is awesome because you don't need to set up anything. You go to the bars and then to the floor, back and forth. It doesn't require preparation. It can be done everywhere and you don't need to wait at all. This makes supersets the best friend of calisthenics. If you are not increasing the load because you don't have immediate access to them, or you just simply like pure calisthenics, you must superset or do circuits. The point of only doing one exercise and focusing on it like the standard is because you need to focus on it to be productive, such as in a very heavy or difficult exercise. This is especially important in movement patterns that you rarely work on. But from the perspective of pure calisthenics, when you become so good at doing basics like push-ups and pull-ups, it doesn't really make sense to not superset or do circuits because you have adapted to them so much that you don't need to do them alone to be productive. And if you could do the same work in less time, why not do it? Supersets can be used both for saving time or to increase effort. This video will be focused on antagonistic supersets, which are used more as a time saver rather than same muscle supersets, which is an intensity technique. An antagonistic superset is simply doing 2 exercises in a row with opposing muscles. For example, the most intuitive example will be a bicep exercise with a tricep exercise done in a row. Because they are opposing muscles, doing a bicep curl will not cause a performance drop in a tricep extension, which is a big deal. If the first exercise that you do significantly decreases your productivity in your second exercise, then is it really worth doing it? Here are some antagonistic supersets that even calisthenic beginners can do without significant performance drop. Number 1. Push-ups and pull-ups. Number 2. Dips and bodyweight rows. Very basic and simple but excellent. You must have seen a pattern with the antagonistic supersets I just mentioned. Especially if you're a beginner, in order to not have a performance drop, you must have a contrast between the loads of the exercises. A big negative trade-off of supersets is that it will affect your effort even if they are antagonistic. There is no point in supersetting really heavy or difficult exercises because realistically the effort you can do to each one of them will be heavily affected, especially if you never superset and if the movement pattern is not very frequent. Maybe your nervous system is not used to supersetting or the greater cardiovascular demand, and after you do the first heavy exercise, then you slack off a lot in the second heavy exercise. By the time you do your second set, the performance drop will be noticeable and the rest times will need to be really long. Instead, you could put really high effort in both exercises in an antagonistic superset by simply discriminating the load and making sure that one exercise has a lighter load. So as long as you don't do variations of specific calisthenic exercises, their difficulty is fixed. It will not change unless you increase lever distance or load. In the case of push-ups and pull-ups, the light load will be the push-ups, and in the case of dips and bodyweight rows, the light load will be the bodyweight rows. If you are introducing supersets for the first time, having a contrast between the load of the exercises is a good way to not overwhelm yourself, to reduce cardiovascular and nervous system demand, allowing you to focus on both exercises without a performance drop. You can also do antagonistic supersets according to your priorities, by first doing the muscle or exercise that you really want to focus on. If you want to focus more on your chest, simply do the push-ups first. If you want to focus more on your back, do the pull-up first. I personally like doing elevated wide push-ups and wide pull-ups. You can even add intensity techniques to your supersets, making them closer to a circuit than a superset. For example, you can do elevated wide push-ups to failure, then add a 10-second rest pause, reach failure again, and then go to your pull-ups and then rest and repeat. Another cool thing about antagonistic supersets is that they will make you realize how some compound exercises are really compound. By that I mean that we categorize exercises by intention, but we often ignore how they might use way more muscles than we think. We all agree a pull-up works mainly the muscles of the back, the lats, the traps, the teres muscles, the real delts, and all the small extra muscles. But after you do an antagonistic superset of push-ups and pull-ups, you will find out that you can actually feel a lot of your chest and your triceps in a pull-up. The tension might not be in a direction that forces the triceps and chest to work a lot, but they will get stretched and contracted, which makes you realize that if you do weighted calisthenics, so long as you load the pull-up really heavily, it will work both your chest and triceps too. You might actually grow them that way if you only do weighted pull-ups. Ironically, if you do pull-ups, you might add extra chest work on top of your push-ups, which actually makes the antagonistic superset even better. The great thing about supersets is that you can superset whatever you want, as many combinations as you want, with many muscles combinations as you want, so as long as you can actually do it. And even if a superset is too cardiovascular or nervous system demanding, many people forget that both the nervous system and the cardiovascular demand can be adapted and worked on. The question is it worth it for you to practice practice and work on your supersets to offset the negative trade-off? Which, if you only do pure calisthenics, the answer will be yes. For example, free handstand push-ups supersetted with pull-ups might seem like the worst combination possible or bad advice. But if you actually really are good with balance to the point that the coordination demands is drastically reduced, you can definitely do a superset of handstand push-ups and pull-ups. Maybe bad general advice, but if it works for you, that is all that matters.